Wow, what an honor to be up here, friends. 3 years I've been here, which 3 years, a lot can happen. A lot. But I remember sitting in these seats, my first ever chapel, perhaps even the first time I heard one of my colleagues speak, that 3rd year experience. And the excitement I had to say, that's going to be me one day. I get to roast Wake Div at the pulpit. I'm kidding, I think. But I have some ground rules for me as a preacher. And this is my encouragement to all of you. I am from the Pentecostal tradition. And if you know anything, I need some response. So if you agree, let's practice our amen. Amen. Thank you. But I'm also not going to go crazy. That's my promise to you. But I'm also an imagery preacher. As I speak, I want to paint pictures. I want to give an illustration of what it is that I'm saying to you. So as I paint these pictures, I want you to see it. Especially today, I have a lot of image that we will go through. So, yes. After hearing our scriptures today, I think you can all guess, and the songs, I think you can guess what we're talking about. Energy. It's a joke. But we're here to talk about rest, but specifically the journey of rest to resurrection for yourself and the world around you. It's no surprise that rest is an important aspect of being human. In fact, your body knows when it is time to rest. It will literally shut down. Who's been there? I think all of us have been there. But thinking about this, I want to share just a quick funny story with all of you about one of my dear friends at church. In fact, Anthea, if you watch this in the future, this is for you. But she and I have cultivated what we call the CNH. That stands for Christian Nap Hour. Can I get an amen? Amen. On a Sunday from the hours of 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Oh, yeah. One Christian does not simply call or text the other. Why? It's because I'm in my bed. No offense, it's me, not you. But the rest, though, that I'm talking about for this sermon is slightly different than a regular nap or sleep. Friends, today I'm talking about mental and spiritual rest. Yeah. So, how many of us in here have heard the phrase, in its time, or when the time is right? How often do you feel annoyed hearing that? And what sparks those feelings when you hear that? As a child, I found myself grumpily waiting and being frustrated in hearing that phrase. In fact, I would shrug my shoulders with a nasty face like this. Who's with me on that, Even today, I despise hearing, just wait, you're almost there. May is coming. It's not here soon enough. But time matters. To illustrate my sermon, I want to reference the fall, winter, and spring seasons. It goes without saying that the fall is where the plants begin to die. The nutrients to the leaves, the flowers, etc., it's cut off. And we get this beautiful display of color and wonder until it's brown and the color leaves. In the winter, though, the nutrients begin to collect and are stored up within the roots of these plants. Sure, the plants are dead and could be impacted by the immense cold weather and that nasty SNOW word. But in the spring, friends, it all rises once again. The life within the plants resurrect and become themselves again. And maybe, perhaps, they look slightly different than they were before. You follow me? So to do this sermon, I want to introduce you to a threefold method of thinking about this. And I'd argue, as it is Holy Week, that the 3 days of Jesus being in the tomb replicate what I call the 3 R's, my own reduce, reuse, recycle method. And you won't forget this. Rest, recover, resurrect. So rest. Let's start with the central question of what is rest? In the Max definition, rest is just taking a break. But the Merriam-Webster dictionary defines it as a bodily state characterized by minimal function and metabolic activities. It says a bodily state, minimal function, metabolic activities. Rest doesn't require much, it seems. In fact, all you have to do is be still. But in this day and age, and even in the work that we do as a collective for justice, reconciliation, and compassion, how do we slow down? The world is ever changing. I don't mean to get political, but we have a president that posts on his Instagram things called deportation ASMR, where they're actively displacing people from this land to bring them back to danger where they once were. I don't know about you, but that's a call to action to me.
Yeah.
Yet in that immediate want to respond, I have to take time and process, consider it all, slow down before I act. Why? Because when we rush into something without considering all of the facts, we lose sight of the ultimate goal. If Jesus had immediately resurrected, what would have been next? Being fully God and fully human, Jesus could have played the ultimate buzzer beater, the biggest April Fool's joke the world had ever seen. On the cross, dead. I'm alive. Joke's on you. But instead, Jesus was gone for 3 days. Think about a time you had to wait 3 days for that Amazon package, for an email or a phone call, or for someone, a loved one, to come home. It's grueling. But if you let yourself dwell on those moments of what you're missing, you lose sight of what is around you. You lose your community. You lose your well-being. You need rest.
Yeah.
And rest, while the Merriam-Webster definition covers what it is like for the human body, it's more than just sleeping. For an extrovert like me, if you weren't aware that I was an extrovert, it's being around my community, my people. For an introvert, it's putting on a movie, petting a dog, letting yourself just sit and be still. There's nothing more to rest than allowing yourself the moment. And let me say that again, allowing yourself the moment to slow down. The passage from Matthew chapter 11 refers to the yoke, the burden that we carry before we go to God. We carry them, but when we bring it forward and let ourselves be in the presence of God, one by one, stone by stone, hurt by hurt, it starts to be relieved from us. Nothing can weigh us down because the yoke of God is weightless. We just have to go to God. Slow down. That's it. Let God take the burden. It's out of our hands. It's gone to heaven. But in that meantime, though, we still can act. We don't stop our function, our drive. We just eagerly await that next opportunity. So recovery. Recovery is hard. If you've been through any major surgery or anything that forces you to rest, it's hard. In that same way that the nutrients are stored in the plant, energy conserved in a generator when a squirrel finds its way into any kind of electrical grid, perhaps speaking from experience here, those things are in abundance to back up what is already there, though. Let me say that again. Those things are in abundance to back up what's already there. Reflection is critical in the stage of recovery, even in the hardest moments. So think about that time you failed that exam, got turned down from a job, been there, got in trouble at work, oopsie, or even after the big accident happened. Whatever your story is, there was a moment of rest and recovery. Resting after the initial moment paves the way for recovery to happen. We reflect on what happened, what could have happened, and what could be, yet it's never enough. The work starts as soon as you get out of the hypothetical. Reflect on how it impacted you. Reflect on what is coming and perhaps what will be done for you. Recovery is the moment for you to bring everything back to life that is being stored within you. The moment that you lost your voice, it still lives inside of you. It hasn't left, but it dwells and is ready to be spoken again when the time is right. The trees keep the nutrients to bloom once more so that beauty can be sent into the world. But if it happens too early, friends, the tree suffers so much more. Our passage from Hebrews speaks into this. If Joshua had given the Israelites the Sabbath rest, the rest without ceasing, would there be need for more? The writer of Hebrews does a careful job of notating in this passage that Sabbath rest remains still for the people of God because the work is not done yet. We have so much to still do. If we enter into God's rest, we enter in the same mindset of completion that was seen in the creation narrative. God rested after the seventh day. Jesus, while resting in the tomb and saving lives from hell, if that's what you believe in the theories. Dr. Rivera, I'm looking at you. I saw you. Where are you? There you are. He gained the ability to come back to life. I think in those moments, in those 3 days in the tomb, the blood began to flow through his body again. His heart began to beat again. His eyes were being prepared to open, his voice ready to speak and show love. While you rest, you have to recover. You have to find the ways to draw near to God and be eager for what is to come next, because next is so much more greater than we could fathom, beloved. And finally, we've reached the springtime. Springtime is my favorite season of the year, simply because the ice melts and life is back. The trees bud with a glowing green amidst Nat's steep pollen that covers our cars and everything. But the world begins to be lively once again. The rain comes to cleanse the ground and help life continue to develop. You, as a plant of this earth, you can resurrect in springtime as well. You have the ability to come back anew and rise. After you rest and recover, you show off what is new. You arise to new possibilities, new wonders. You arise to advocating and having a new perspective on what is while knowing what was. Nothing was put behind you, friends, but you overcame the oppression. You overcame the voicelessness. You overcame new wonders, new possibilities. It's endless when you resurrect yourself. When the nutrients from your roots begin to flow back into your being, and you are you again with a new twist. New things may become harder when you resurrect, but old things, that's nothing anymore. Nothing at all. A commentary that I was reading on the Hebrews passage by Luke Timothy Johnson says this: there, us, humanity's works, are no longer a striving to fill a need, but share in an outpouring of abundant life. When we have done the work of resurrection, we don't need to have anything to fill something that was lacking. But instead we speak out on what is in abundance from us. And when we lose that abundance, we rest again, we recover again, and then we resurrect once again. It's a beautiful cycle of love and excitement. And for that moment, Neil's not here to yell at me for quoting this out of context. But for such a time as this, truly, for such a time as this, we resurrect and we do the work that is called of us. We get up, take action, do the next best thing, because we do these things out of love and justice for others rather than for ourselves. My family, it is for such a time as this that we are placed right here. That spark that you feel, it is real. But let that spark burn into a fire that blazes across the sky. Brittany, I saw you in here, right? Yeah, I remember my orientation. You and Race did the imagery of the horizons and the ash fire across the sky. Let that fire blaze. Let the light be shown. Let it thrive and feed off of coals that can provide nourishment to the fire instead of wet wood that immediately puts it out. Let yourself resurrect, my friends. In this season, we resurrect. Thank you.